You know that moment when someone makes a mistake so big, so perfectly stupid that you almost feel sorry for them? Almost. I was having that moment watching Michelle Torres fire me in front of my entire team. Effective immediately, she said, like she was reading from some HR manual. 23 years at Nexus Biotech. 8 years in the Marines before that. And this 32-year-old MBA thought she could just show me the door like I was some rookie who'd screwed up the coffee order. I kept my hand steady on the conference table. Former Marines don't give people the satisfaction of seeing them sweat. Hope the Meridian presentation goes well on Friday, I said, standing up slow and deliberate. The room went dead quiet. My team, people I'd hired, trained, watched grow from scared college kids to department heads, just stared at their laptops like they were studying for finals. Michelle's eyes narrowed. She thought she had me cornered. What exactly do you mean by that, Rick? I looked her straight in the eye. You'll figure it out. Or you won't. That's when I knew Michelle Torres had just declared war on the wrong guy. Let me back up and tell you how we got here. My name's Rick Donovan. I'm 52, been managing client relations at Nexus for 2 decades. Before that, I did 8 years in the Corps, including a tour in the Gulf. The Marines taught me 3 things that served me well in business: patience, strategy, and how to stay calm when everything's going to hell around you. When I started at Nexus, it was a scrappy little biotech company with big dreams and bigger problems. The founder, George Brennan, took a chance on an ex-Marine with no science background but plenty of hunger to learn. I spent my first 5 years soaking up everything: lab procedures, regulatory compliance, but most importantly, how to read clients and figure out what they really needed versus what they said they wanted. By 30, I was running the client relations department. By 40, I was the guy companies called when they needed biotech solutions fast and done right. Not because I was the smartest guy in the room, but because I understood something most people in this business don't. Relationships aren't built in boardrooms. They're built on golf courses, over beers after long days, in those quiet moments when a client tells you what's really keeping them up at night. I'd built relationships that kept Nexus breathing during the 2008 recession. When our competitors were folding left and right, we actually grew because our clients trusted us. Not the company, me. They knew when Rick Donovan gave his word, it meant something. My wife Carol understood what it took. 24 years of marriage, and she'd handled the late-night calls from panicked clients in Tokyo, the weekend flights to close deals in Denver, the missed dinners when some pharmaceutical giant needed hand-holding through a regulatory nightmare. She raised our daughter Riley while I built something that mattered. Something that provided for our family and employed 73 good people. The work suited me. Biotech sales isn't like selling cars or insurance. You're dealing with people's lives, with breakthroughs that could save millions, with technologies that take years to develop and decades to perfect. The stakes are real, the relationships run deep, and the knowledge you build up over 20 years becomes more valuable than any MBA they hand out at fancy schools. But things started changing when George retired 3 years ago. His son Paul took over as CEO and brought in a parade of consultants who spoke in buzzwords and saw employees as line items on spreadsheets. Michelle was the latest in that parade, a change management specialist who'd somehow convinced Paul she could optimize our client engagement strategy and reduce operational overhead. I should have seen the writing on the wall the day she walked into our department meeting with a PowerPoint about modernizing client touchpoints and leveraging synergistic opportunities. Sarah Kelly, my senior analyst, caught my eye and made a face like she'd tasted something sour. Alex Rodriguez, who ran our international accounts, just shook his head. After that meeting, we did what we always did when corporate brought in another consultant. We went to Murphy's Tavern for beers and laughed about it. $10 says she lasts 6 months, Sarah said, raising her glass. I'll take that bet, Alex replied. Paul's infatuated with her. She's got at least a year. I should have been paying closer attention. While we were making jokes, Michelle was studying us like lab specimens. She started showing up to client meetings uninvited, taking notes on everything I said. She'd corner team members after hours, asking detailed questions about client preferences, contract terms, communication protocols, all the institutional knowledge that took years to accumulate. The warning signs were everywhere. She reorganized our filing system without asking, claiming she was improving information accessibility. She started scheduling calls with our biggest clients, telling them she was conducting satisfaction audits to ensure we were meeting their evolving needs. 3 weeks ago, I walked into the office early to catch up on some paperwork and heard her on the phone with someone from corporate. Her door was cracked and her voice carried. Rick's methods are completely outdated, she was saying. The clients respect him personally, but they need fresh thinking, modern approaches. I can deliver the same results with half the overhead and twice the efficiency. Half the overhead. That meant cutting my team. People like Sarah, who'd worked nights and weekends to master the Meridian account specifications. Or Alex, who'd spent 2 years learning Mandarin just so he could build relationships with our Shanghai partners. I stood there in the hallway for a full minute, listening to her lay out her plan to gut everything I'd built. Then I walked to my office, closed the door, and started thinking like a Marine again. In the Corps, they teach you that the best defense is preparation. Know your enemy's capabilities, understand their objectives, and always have an exit strategy. Michelle thought she was hunting me, but she had no idea she was walking into a kill zone of my own making. The Meridian Technologies presentation was coming up Friday, our biggest pitch of the year. $30 million for specialized biosensors, 8 months of relationship building, and the kind of technical complexity that separated the professionals from the pretenders. I'd been working that account since before Michelle even knew Nexus existed. But here's what Michelle didn't understand about the biotech business. It's not about PowerPoint slides and quarterly projections. It's about trust. Meridian's chief technology officer was a former Navy engineer named Tom Harrison, who hated corporate presentations and only respected people who could talk shop without consulting notes. Their procurement director, Dr. Lisa Chen, had a PhD in biochemistry and zero patience for sales pitches that didn't demonstrate real technical understanding. I'd spent months learning their business inside and out. I knew Harrison preferred technical drawings to flowcharts, that Chen made decisions based on implementation timelines rather than cost savings, that their CEO valued long-term partnerships over short-term deals. All of that knowledge was in my head, in my notebooks, in relationships that took years to build. Michelle knew about the meeting, but she didn't know any of the details. In her mind, presentations were about slick slides and confident delivery. She had no idea she was about to walk into a room full of people expecting specific technical discussions that only I could provide. The irony was perfect. Michelle had fired me to prove she could handle my responsibilities. Friday morning, she'd learned the difference between managing a department and managing relationships. That Thursday night, I couldn't sleep. Not from worry, from anticipation. Carol found me in this kitchen at 2 a.m. with coffee and my laptop. "You're planning something," she said, sitting down across from me. 24 years of marriage had taught her when to push and when to wait. This was a waiting moment. Michelle called earlier, I finally said. Left 4 voicemails. What did she want? Details about the Meridian presentation. Technical specifications, client preferences, the usual. Carol smiled. She'd been there for every late night, every weekend I'd spent building those relationships. She understood what I had accomplished better than anyone. What did you tell her? Nothing. I'm not her employee anymore. That's when the full scope of Michelle's mistake hit me. She hadn't just fired me. She'd destroyed 20 years of institutional knowledge. Client relationships, technical expertise, regulatory insights that took decades to accumulate. All of it walked out the door when she said effective immediately. I opened my laptop and started reaching out to my network. People who'd been trying to recruit me for years, competitors who knew my reputation, former colleagues who'd moved to other companies. By sunrise, I had 3 interview requests and 1 solid job offer. The game was just beginning. Friday morning at 9:47, I was sitting in Murphy's coffee house when my phone started buzzing. Michelle. I let it go to voicemail, then watched her call back immediately. By 10:15, she'd tried 7 times. At 10:23, Sarah called. "Rick, where are you?" The Meridian people just arrived and Michelle's having a complete meltdown. She can't find any of the technical specifications they're asking for. "They should be in the system," I said, taking a slow sip of coffee. She says they're not there. She's been up all night searching through files. Tell her to check the project folder under Meridian Technologies, subsection Technical Requirements. Sarah paused. "Rick, she says that folder only has basic contact information and a standard presentation template." I almost smiled. "That's because the real technical specs were never digitized. They're in my blue notebook, the one you took home yesterday. The one I took home yesterday." Another pause. "They're asking for you specifically." Tom Harrison said he was looking forward to discussing the sensor calibration protocols you developed for their application. Wish I could help, but I don't work there anymore. At 10:45, my phone rang again. This time it was Paul Brennan himself. "Rick, we need to talk. There's been a misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding, Paul. I was terminated yesterday. Effective immediately," I believe Michelle said. "Look, maybe she was hasty. We can work this out. Maybe she was, but I'm not your employee anymore. I can't legally represent Nexus in client meetings. Then work as a consultant. Name your rate. I'm not available. Which was true. I had a phone interview with Apex Biosolutions at 2 p.m. Their vice president of business development had called personally after receiving my resume that morning. Funny how word travels fast in this industry. Rick, be reasonable. The Meridian contract is worth $30 million. Should have thought about that before you let Michelle clean house. By 11:30, according to the texts Sarah was sending me, the Meridian team had packed up and left. They'd given Michelle exactly 20 minutes to produce the technical documentation they'd specifically requested. When she couldn't deliver, Tom Harrison had stood up, shaken his head, and said they'd need to reassess their options with more prepared vendors. Michelle called again at noon. This time I picked up. Rick, you have to help me. This is sabotage. No, this is consequences. I can report you for corporate sabotage. Withholding critical company information. What information? I removed my personal belongings from my office. Those notebooks were mine, bought with my own money, filled with my own observations. All official company files remain exactly where you left them. You know, that's not how this works. Actually, it's exactly how it works. You terminated me without cause and without notice. Nexus forfeited any claim to my cooperation the moment you said those magic words. She hung up on me. 10 minutes later, building security called asking me to return company notebooks. I told them to check my employment contract. Personal property purchased with personal funds remained personal property. They could send a lawyer if they disagreed. At 1:30, Carol called, laughing. Riley just texted me from campus. She saw Michelle's LinkedIn post about exciting restructuring opportunities at Nexus. Apparently she's trying to spin your firing as strategic planning. How's that working out for her? 3 of your old clients have already commented asking where you went. Word travels fast when you screw up a $30 million deal. My phone interview with Apex went better than expected. Diane Maxwell, their VP of Business Development, had done her homework. Rick, we've been watching the situation at Nexus with concern. Several pharmaceutical partners have mentioned disruptions in their client service recently. Michelle Torres believes in modernizing client relationships, and you believe in building them, one conversation at a time, one solved problem at a time, one kept promise at a time. It's slower than PowerPoint presentations, but it tends to last longer. That's exactly what we're looking for. We're expanding our pharmaceutical consulting division and need someone who understands that relationships drive revenue, not the other way around. By 3 p.m., I had a formal offer. Senior Director of Client Relations, 25% salary increase, full benefits, and a signing bonus that would cover Riley's remaining college costs. I accepted on the spot. Walking out of Apex's offices, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Excitement about the future instead of anxiety about the present. Not just because of the money, but because of the possibilities. Apex was growing aggressively, landing contracts with major pharmaceutical companies and research universities. They needed someone who understood the long game. Saturday morning brought an interesting phone call from Alex Rodriguez. Rick, I need to tell you something I probably should have mentioned weeks ago. I'm listening. Michelle's been making calls to our international clients, not for relationship building, for intelligence gathering. She wanted detailed information about contract terms, renewal dates, pricing structures, stuff that should have been in our internal systems. The picture was getting clearer. What else? She asked me to forward her copies of all my client correspondence, said it was for a quality assurance review. When I told her everything was already logged in our CRM system, she insisted she needed the original emails and call notes. That hit me like a punch to the gut. Did you send them? Hell no. But Rick, I think she was building a case against you, trying to prove you were hiding information or mismanaging accounts somehow. Now Michelle's behavior made perfect sense. She hadn't been trying to learn from me. She'd been trying to replace me with documentation she could control. The Meridian presentation was supposed to be her proof that she could handle my responsibilities. A successful meeting would have validated her approach and justified my termination. Instead, it had exposed how little she understood about the business she'd inherited. There's more, Alex continued. Yesterday, after the Meridian disaster, she called an emergency staff meeting. Told everyone you deliberately withheld critical information to sabotage the company. How'd that go over? Sarah shut her down hard. Pointed out that you'd offered to train Michelle on all your accounts when she first arrived. Michelle had declined, saying she preferred to develop her own methodologies. I remembered that conversation. 3 months ago, I'd spent an entire weekend preparing detailed training materials for Michelle. Client profiles, technical preferences, communication styles, regulatory requirements, everything I'd learned about relationship management in 20 years. She'd skimmed through it and dismissed it as traditional approaches that don't scale in modern business environments. What's the mood in the office now? Tense. Paul's bringing in external consultants Monday to assess what he's calling the client relations crisis. Nobody's job is safe. After Alex hung up, I sat thinking about the deeper implications. Michelle hadn't just made an impulsive decision to fire me. She'd been planning it for weeks, maybe months. The Meridian presentation was supposed to be her coming out party, her proof that she could modernize client relations and deliver results. Instead, it had become her professional obituary. Sunday evening, I got an unexpected call. Tom Harrison from Meridian Technologies. Rick, hope you don't mind me calling your personal number. Got it from Sarah Kelly. Not at all, Tom. Sorry about Friday morning. Not your fault. Look, I've been in this business 30 years, and I can smell corporate dysfunction from a mile away. What happened at Nexus isn't your problem anymore. I appreciate that. Actually, I'm calling because we still need those biosensors. The project hasn't gone away just because Nexus imploded. Any chance you'd be interested in consulting work? I smiled. Funny you should ask. I just accepted a position with Apex Biosolutions. They specialize in exactly the kind of project you're developing. Apex? I know Diane Maxwell. First-rate operation. Think they'd be interested in picking up where Nexus left off? I think they'd be very interested. Let me set up a meeting. Monday morning, I walked into Apex's offices wearing my best suit and carrying a $30 million opportunity. Diane Maxwell took one look at the Meridian file and started laughing. Rick, you've been here exactly 1 weekend, and you're already bringing in major accounts. I believe in hitting the ground running. This is the same Meridian deal that Nexus lost Friday? The very same. Turns out they still need biosensors, and they're not particularly loyal to vendors who can't deliver basic technical documentation. By Tuesday, Apex had formally proposal meetings scheduled with Meridian. By Wednesday, Alex Rodriguez had called asking about job opportunities at my new company. By Thursday, Sarah Kelly was having coffee with Diane Maxwell to discuss opening a pharmaceutical consulting division. Michelle Torres was learning a harsh lesson about the difference between managing a department and managing relationships. You can reorganize filing systems and optimize workflows all you want, but you can't download 20 years of industry knowledge into a PowerPoint presentation. The best part? I hadn't lifted a finger against Nexus. I'd simply taken my expertise to a company that valued it. Everything else was just the market correcting itself. The phone call that changed everything came on a Tuesday morning 3 weeks later. I was sitting in my new office at Apex reviewing proposals for the Meridian account when Sarah Kelly called. Rick, you need to know what's happening here. Paul just fired Michelle. When? This morning. Called her into his office at 9, walked her out by 9:15. Security escort and everything. I leaned back in my chair. How's the team taking it? Relief mostly. But here's the thing. Paul's bringing in another consultant to assess the department's operational efficiency. Nobody's job is safe. That hit me harder than I expected. These weren't just former colleagues. They were people I'd mentored, trained, watched grow into professionals. Sarah had been 7 months pregnant when I hired her, and no other company would take the risk. Alex started as an intern who could barely speak English, and I'd spent 2 years teaching him not just the technical side, but how to read clients, how to build trust across cultural barriers. Sarah, can I ask you something? Sure, are you happy at Nexus? Long pause. Not really. It's not the same place since George retired. Paul doesn't understand the business, and now with Michelle's mess, everything's unstable. Apex is expanding fast. We're building a pharmaceutical consulting division from scratch. Need someone to head it up. Someone with deep regulatory knowledge and proven client relationships. Another pause. Are you offering me a job? I'm offering you an opportunity. Come talk to Diane Maxwell. See if it feels right. The next day, Sarah was sitting in Apex's conference room, and by Friday, she was our new director of pharmaceutical consulting. Her first move was to call Alex Rodriguez. Alex, how would you feel about running international business development for a company that actually values what you've built? By the end of that week, 3 of Nexus's best people had jumped ship. Not because I'd poached them, because I'd given them a better option when they needed one most. The biotech industry runs on relationships, and word travels fast. Within a month, everyone knew the story. Michelle Torres had destroyed a 20-year operation in 3 months, lost the biggest client, and driven away the institutional knowledge that made Nexus competitive. I kept my ear to the ground through my network. The picture that emerged wasn't pretty. Nexus had lost 6 major clients since the Meridian disaster. Stock price dropped 12%. Paul was facing serious pressure from the board. But here's what really got to me. It wasn't just about Michelle anymore. Good people were getting hurt by decisions they'd had no part in making. Tom Reeves in lab operations, Linda Park in regulatory affairs, guys who'd been there since the early days and didn't deserve to get caught in corporate crossfire. I made some calls. Tom, it's Rick Donovan. Heard about the layoffs? Listen, Apex is looking for experienced lab operations people. Interested in a conversation? These weren't revenge moves. They were rescue operations. When a ship's going down, you throw lifelines to people worth saving. The pharmaceutical consulting division at Apex was growing faster than anyone expected. Sarah's regulatory expertise combined with Alex's international connections and my client relationships created something powerful. We weren't just selling services, we were solving problems that other companies couldn't handle. 3 months after my termination, I was sitting in Apex's expanded conference room, reviewing quarterly numbers with Diane Maxwell and the executive team. The results were impressive. Pharmaceutical division up 200%. International contracts increased by 150%. Client satisfaction scores hitting record highs. Rick, your team has exceeded every projection we made, Diane said. The Meridian implementation alone has generated 8 new contract inquiries. Sarah, now running her own department, smiled across the table. When clients see seamless regulatory approvals and perfect project execution, word spreads fast. We're not just meeting expectations, we're setting new standards. Alex joined the meeting by video from Munich, where he was closing a deal with a major research consortium. The European expansion is ahead of schedule. We're looking at 3 new markets next quarter, and I've got pharmaceutical companies calling us instead of the other way around. That afternoon, I got an email that caught me off guard. Paul Brennan wanted to meet for coffee. We met at Murphy's Coffee House. Seemed appropriate. Paul looked like he'd aged 5 years and 6 months. Rick, I owe you an apology. A big one. How's Nexus doing? Surviving, barely. We've lost 8 major clients since the Meridian situation. Had to lay off 23 people. Stock's down 18%, and the board is asking hard questions about management decisions. He stirred his coffee slowly. Michelle cost us more than clients. She destroyed 20 years of institutional knowledge. Relationships that took decades to build, gone in 3 months. I didn't say anything. Sometimes the best response is silence. I heard about your success at Apex. The pharmaceutical division, the international expansion, the Meridian contract. That growth should have been ours. Could have been. He leaned forward. Would you consider coming back? I could offer you Michelle's old position, VP of Operations. Full authority over client relations, business development, whatever you want. Name your terms. I'm happy where I am, Paul. Double your current salary. Equity options. Complete autonomy. It's not about money. He sat back confused. Then what is it about? Trust. When you hired Michelle, you decided that experience doesn't matter, that relationships can be optimized like software, that 20 years of industry knowledge can be replaced by MBA theories and corporate buzzwords. I was wrong. Yes, you were, but the damage is done. Your clients don't trust Nexus anymore because they can't trust your decision-making. Your employees don't trust leadership because they've seen what happens to loyalty and experience. And frankly, I don't trust you not to make the same mistake again when the next consultant promises to revolutionize your operations. Paul left without finishing his coffee. Watching him walk away, I felt something unexpected, not satisfaction, but pity. He'd learned an expensive lesson about the value of institutional knowledge, but learning it had cost him everything that made his company worth running. That evening, Carol found me in the garage working on my old Mustang. Hands-on work helps me think, always has. Productive day? She asked. Interesting day. Paul offered me Michelle's job, and turned him down. Some bridges, once burned, shouldn't be rebuilt. She handed me a beer and leaned against the workbench. Riley called from college today, said her business professor is using your story as a case study in their corporate strategy class. What's the title? The Nexus Mistake, When Innovation Destroys Innovation. I had to laugh. What did you tell her to say if anyone asks about her dad? That he taught her the most important lesson about revenge, which is, the best revenge is building something better than what they tried to tear down. 6 months after my termination, the Kansas City Business Journal ran a front-page story about Apex Biosolutions' major acquisition of 3 smaller pharmaceutical consulting firms. The deal created the largest independent biotech consulting practice in the Midwest, and I was named Senior Vice President of Strategic Development. The article mentioned my previous role at Nexus, noting how my departure had preceded their recent struggles. It quoted industry analysts saying that Nexus's talent migration had been a strategic windfall for competitors, particularly Apex. Michelle Torres, according to her LinkedIn profile, had taken a position with a startup in Denver focusing on disruptive healthcare solutions. Her bio emphasized her expertise in organizational transformation and change management. There was no mention of Nexus or what her transformation had actually accomplished. The poetic justice wasn't lost on me, but it wasn't the point anymore. Michelle had been a symptom, not the disease. The real problem was a business culture that valued innovation over experience, disruption over relationship building, theoretical knowledge over practical wisdom. At Apex, we'd built something different. A company that understood that real innovation comes from deep expertise, not shallow optimization. That disruption without foundation is just destruction. That the fastest way to lose clients is to treat relationships like transactions. Sarah, Alex, and I weren't just succeeding, we were proving a point. Experience matters. Relationships drive results. Trust, once lost, is almost impossible to rebuild. But building something new? That's always possible, especially when you've got the right people and the right foundation. The team we'd assembled at Apex was everything Michelle claimed modern business should be. Efficient, results-driven, profitable. The difference was we'd built it on mutual respect and shared knowledge, not corporate buzzwords and arbitrary restructuring. We weren't just survivors of corporate politics. We were proof that sometimes the best response to destruction is construction. 1 year after Michelle Torres said effective immediately, I was standing on the 18th tee at Bellarive Country Club with Tom Harrison from Meridian Technologies. We'd just finished discussing the expansion of our biosensor project, and Tom was lining up what looked like a perfect drive down the fairway. "You know, Rick," he said, taking a practice swing, "that disaster at Nexus was the best thing that ever happened to our project. Apex delivered everything you promised, and then some. 6 months ahead of schedule, under budget, and 0 regulatory hiccups." I watched his ball sail straight down the middle. Sometimes things work out the way they're supposed to. Michelle Torres called me last month, said she was with some startup in Denver, wanted to pitch us on their revolutionary approach to biotech consulting. "What did you tell her?" Tom smiled. "I told her we were very happy with our current vendor relationships." That evening, I was having dinner with Carol and Riley at our favorite restaurant when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. It was Michelle. "Rick, I know we didn't part on good terms, but I'm hoping we can put the past behind us. My new company is developing some exciting solutions, and I'd love to discuss potential collaboration opportunities. Perhaps we could meet for coffee." I showed the message to Carol. She shook her head. "Some people never learn," she said. Riley looked up from her phone. "Dad, is that the woman from my business class case study?" "The very same. Professor Morrison says her startup is hemorrhaging money. Lost 2 major investors last quarter." I deleted Michelle's message without responding. Some conversations aren't worth having. The real satisfaction came 3 months later when Diane Maxwell called me into her office with news that changed everything. "Rick, the board has approved our biggest expansion yet. We're acquiring Meridian Technologies' entire internal consulting division and setting up our own pharmaceutical research facility. They want us to manage their R&D partnerships moving forward." I sat back in my chair. "That's a $40 million operation. $43 million to be exact. And Tom Harrison specifically requested that you oversee the integration." He said, and I quote, "Rick Donovan is the only person in this industry who understands that innovation comes from relationships, not PowerPoints." That weekend, I was in my garage working on the Mustang when Alex called from Frankfurt. "Rick, you're not going to believe this. Remember that pharmaceutical consortium I've been courting in Germany? They just awarded us their North American distribution contract. $60 million over 3 years. That's incredible, Alex. Gets better. They said they chose us specifically because of our reputation for relationship-based business development. Apparently, word's gotten around about how we do things differently." The following Monday, Sarah knocked on my office door with a proposal that made me smile. "Rick, I've been thinking about something. What if we created a training program? Not for our competitors, but for young professionals coming into the industry. Teach them what we learned the hard way. That success comes from understanding people, not just optimizing processes. You want to start a business school? I want to start a mentorship program. The Rick Donovan Institute for Relationship-Based Business Development." I laughed. "That's a terrible name. Work in progress." But seriously, think about it. How many companies are making Michelle's mistake right now? Hiring consultants to fix problems they don't understand, firing experienced people to cut costs, treating relationships like line items on a spreadsheet. She was right. Michelle wasn't an anomaly. She was a symptom of a broader problem in corporate culture. The belief that business is just numbers, that relationships are inefficient, that experience can be replaced by algorithms and optimization. What would we teach them? Everything you taught me. The clients are people first, accounts second. That trust takes years to build and seconds to destroy. That the most important conversations happen after the formal meetings end. That afternoon, I called Riley at college. Dad, perfect timing. I just finished presenting your case study to my advanced business strategy class. How'd it go? Professor said it was the best analysis of institutional knowledge management she'd seen from an undergraduate. But Dad, I've been thinking about something. What's that? You never really got revenge on Michelle, did you? I mean, you didn't do anything to hurt her directly. No, I didn't. So what happened to her was just consequences? Sometimes the best revenge is stepping out of the way and letting people face the results of their own choices. Is that a Marine thing? I thought about it. No, sweetheart. That's a life thing. 2 years after leaving Nexus, I was named CEO of Apex Biosolutions. Diane Maxwell had been promoted to president of their parent company, and the board wanted someone who understood both the technical and relationship sides of the business. My first decision was to make Sarah my VP of Operations and Alex my VP of International Development. My second decision was to establish the mentorship program Sarah had proposed. We called it the Foundation Institute, built on the idea that sustainable business success requires a foundation of trust, expertise, and genuine relationships. The irony wasn't lost on any of us. Michelle had fired me for being old-fashioned, for relying on relationship building instead of modern efficiency. 3 years later, that old-fashioned approach had built the most successful biotech consulting firm in the region. But the real victory wasn't the money or the recognition. It was the phone call I received on a Thursday afternoon from a young consultant in Chicago. Mr. Donovan, my name is Jennifer Walsh. I'm 28, MBA from Northwestern, and I just got hired to modernize client relations at a pharmaceutical company here. Problem is, after reading about your situation with Nexus,